Welcome to day 3 of week 2. Today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be playing a game, and to be able to play the game you're going to need a piece of notebook paper, and later on you're going to be doing some independent practice using these 2 sheets. So I want to make sure you have these supplies with you as we move forward. So if you don't, you can pause the video and go ahead and grab those things. So before we play the game, what I'd like to do is review this idea of equivalency with decimal fractions. So if you're taking a look at what I have here, I have 24 cents right there. So I think we'd all agree that that's just 24 pennies, right? And what we do with money is we use place value to talk about our money. So here we have 24 cents. We can convert some of these pennies to dimes, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 10 of these away and exchange them for a dime. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 right here. I'm going to get rid of those 10 cents and I'm going to put a dime there. And now what we have is we still have 24 cents altogether. It's just represented differently with different change. Okay, do we have enough to make another dime? Why, yes we do. So we're going to get rid of 10 more. And what we're going to have left is 24 cents altogether. And what we've done is we've taken those pennies and we've made an equivalent fraction, or decimal more like. So we have 24 cents, we have 2 dimes and 4 cents, and our decimal point would be over here, or what we had before we started was 0.24 or 24 hundredths of a dollar. So ultimately what I really want you to remember is if you have 2 dimes and you have 20 pennies, they equal each other. They are equivalent to each other. Said in a different way, if you have 2/10 of a dollar, meaning you're dividing the dollar into 10 dimes, or you have 20/100ths of a dollar, meaning you're dividing it into 100 pennies, these are equivalent to each other. So 2/10 is the same as 20 hundredths, and 2/10 over here is the same as 20 hundredths. Now, when we were in class together, if you were in my math class, and I'm sure in the other math classes you talked about this too, if I wanted to make this equivalent, do you remember what we would do to make this equivalent mathematically without looking at dimes and pennies? What we would do is we would multiply the top by a number that would get us this number. And if we did that to the top, we had to do that to the bottom. So I'd multiply this. So when I multiply 2 times 10, I get 20. And when I multiply 10 times 10, I get 100. And that's how I mathematically prove that these are the same thing. So when you see 2/10 or 20 hundredths, don't be fooled by that placeholder 0, because this looks like a bigger number than this, but they're the same. Okay, I just want to review that with you just so there isn't any confusion moving forward. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to play the game. And this game I'm going to play, it'll be me against the students, okay? So you're on team students and I'm on team left. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our notebook paper set up just like this, dimes and pennies. So if you don't have that set up yet, go ahead and do that. And I'm going to have you guys go first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to roll the dice. And I actually have 7 dice here. And what you're going to do is you're going to add up all of these numbers, okay? So go ahead and add up all these numbers. I'm going to do you a special favor and look for tens. So 4 plus 5 plus 1, and 6 plus 2 plus 1 plus 3. What could we do there to make that? Let's do that. Okay, So I have a 10, and I have a 10, and I have a 2. So your first score is 22 cents. Okay? So the way you would write 22 cents, just if you were writing it like on, you were taking notes about how much money you spent on something, you would write 22 cents just like this. So for this game though, what you would have is, you would have 2 dimes, right? And 2 cents. Does that make sense? Okay. And our decimal point would go right there. So now what we have is 22 cents. That is your first score. My score is going to be where I roll the dice and I count up mine and I get a certain score, and then we will play until the first person makes it to $1. Okay? So I think to play this game, I'm going to need to make my own scorecard where I have your score and my score. If we were at school together, we would just have our own scoreboard, but I will keep score for you and for me. So this is dimes, this is pennies. Dimes and pennies. And this is me, and this is all of you. Students, yay. Okay, we're going to make a column. We're going to make some decimal points. And if you want to keep my score too, just for an extra math challenge, you can do that as well. Okay, so your first score was 22 cents, right? So we're going to write 2 tenths and 2 pennies. Is everyone clear on that? I know this line going down is a little confusing, but this is 22 cents. Okay, now it's my turn. I'm going to roll the dice. And again, when I add, I like to look for numbers that add up to 10 because it helps me go fast, and I like to go fast in math sometimes. So 5 plus 3 plus 2, there's a 10. And then I have, do you see a fast 10 for me? I'm seeing that's 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay, so I have 10 plus 10 plus 1. So my score for the first one is 21 cents, 2 dimes, and 1 penny. All right, now it's your turn. Oh my goodness, you got some big numbers there. So remember, we're just trying to get up to $1, and what you can do if you like this game and you want to play it at home, you can find cards, like game cards to play with, where you just pull out all the 1s, 2s, 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s. Or you could use the cards all the way up to 10 and pick a bigger dollar amount, like maybe $3 or $5 to get up to. You could also put these digits 1 through 6 in a paper bag and pull them out and play the game that way. So you don't necessarily need dice, but it comes in handy. Okay, so this was your roll, right? So I see a 10 here, and I see a 10 here, and so 10 plus 10 plus 3. So you got 23 cents. So again, dimes and pennies. Okay, my turn. Wow, 3 6s, that looks good. So I just put 3 6s and a 2 together. Why did I do that, do you think? Because that, my friend, is a fast 20, right? So I have 20 there because 3 times 6 is 18, and then I have 4 plus 4 plus 1, which is 9. So I have 20 plus 9. So I'm going to write down 29. What do you think the biggest number is that you could get? What's the biggest number? You have seven die, and the biggest number is what? Do a little multiplication and figure out what the biggest number is. Okay, here comes your roll. You got a 4 and a 5 and a 4 and a 2 and a 2 and a 2. and a 1. Okay, so go ahead and calculate that up. What I see is a 10 here, and I see a 10 here. So you got 20 cents. This might be a good time for you to, after my next turn, calculate who's in the lead. What I like about this game is it's mainly luck, so it's kind of the luck of the roll of the dice. So here comes mine. Ooh, some 1s. I have a fast 10 right there. 5 plus 5, 6 plus 4. So this time I got 10, 24. So who do you think's in the lead at this point? And think about, what are you doing to estimate that? Because interestingly enough, we have 20s, and we have 2 dimes in on each roll altogether, and you do as well. So my strategy is to look at these being equal. I'm looking at my 1s column, and my 1s column looks a little bit more promising. Okay, the game is not over yet. How close are we to $1, by the way? We might have to add after this roll and just double check where we're at. Okay, you just rolled 3 5s. That's fun to count. A 6 and a 1 and a 3 and another 6. So I think I'm going to set it up this way. And I'm really hoping you can see these okay on your video screen. I'll try to say them each time. You have a 5 and a 5, 6, 1, 3, and then a 5 and a 6. So what is your answer for that one? If you said 31 cents, you are correct. So you have broken the 2 dime threshold. You got 3 dimes on this one, which is great. So now let's just estimate how much you have. So if we were to round this down to the nearest dime without any pennies, this is closer to 20 than 30. So I would say 20 plus 20 plus 20 plus 30. So 60 plus 30 is about where your score is at. Okay, now it's my turn. And I see a lot of 1s and a couple of 2s. That is sad. Okay, 3 1s. Oh my goodness, not good. I'm gonna borrow one of these ones for my fast 10. So I have 10, 12, 14, 16. That was an unfortunate roll. You may have pulled ahead. Let's go ahead and estimate how many I have. I have 20. This would be rounded to 30, right? So that's 50. This would be about 70. And this would round up to 20. So I have about 90-ish too. So why don't we make this our last roll? And you can play this game a couple of different ways. Maybe the person closest to $1 wins. Maybe the person closest to $1 without going over wins. That might be a little tricky, actually. Or maybe whoever is closest to $1 above or below wins. Why don't we do that way? And then if you play this game at home, you can kind of make up your own rules. Okay, here's your last roll. So you got a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 4 and a 5 and a 6 and a 4. Okay, so 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 4 plus 5 plus 6. Again, I'm going to organize by 10s. 4 plus 5 plus 1 is a 10. So now I have 10, 23. So I have 23 cents, or you have 23 cents. And what you can do right now is you can go ahead and add these up. What you want to do, we're going to be getting into adding and subtracting decimals tomorrow, But what you can do is just add up the pennies. And if you need to carry, you carry whatever the number is and you add up the dimes. Okay, so here's my last roll. Good luck counting up your final, and then we'll see what I have. Okay, I got there's a 10, and there's an 8. So I have 10, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So I got a 22. Okay, so let's see who got the biggest number. I'm going to add up mine. You can be adding up yours. And I got what looks like $1.12. And you can double check my work. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 plus 1 is that. Okay, let's see what you got. Have you already calculated? Okay, so you have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I really left myself no room. Okay, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. You got $1.09. And I'm not writing this very well. So you got $1.09 for your final score. And I got $1.12 for my final score. So guess who won? The person or the people who got closest to $1 bill. So very good. Good game. You can play this game. I think this game is really fun, and it's just a good reminder of how we talk about place value when using money. The other thing I want to cover with you as well is, and I'll go ahead and erase this. Let's just write this down in our notebook before I move on to your independent practice. So when you have, let's say you have 23 cents. You have 23 cents in your pocket. There's a couple of different ways you would communicate this. One is just with the decimal point 23, but this kind of looks more like it could be something other than money. So what you want to do is you want to do a cent sign that looks like this. Or the other thing you can do is you can have a placeholder 0 that shows there are no dollar bills, and you can write it this way. So this way or this way is the way you write money. You can also put a placeholder 0 there as well. Okay, good game. You guys are awesome. Okay, now what you're going to do is I'm going to show you what your independent practice is going to look like today. And what I want you to take a look at is these grids. And you're going to be building your own numbers or your own fractions here. And what you can do if you want to make it more interesting for yourself, again, you can get a deck of cards, or you can put digits 0 through 9 in a brown paper bag and pull out digits for each turn. So if I were to do that and I had a deck of cards and I pulled a 4 and a 5, what I would do is I could make the decimal 45 hundredths or 54 hundredths. Okay. Otherwise, if you just want to do it the way I'm doing it, is I'm just thinking of different decimals that I can create in these pictures. So for this first one, I made, I colored in this amount, okay? And I colored in 10, 20, 30, 40, 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to write this, and I'm going to use a placeholder 0, and I want you to as well. I'm going to write 0 and 43 hundredths. Okay. Now what I also want you to do, and this is where you have to use your eyes in kind of a tricky way, instead of just seeing 43 squares that are colored in purple, I want you to see the tenths and the hundredths. And I want you to write this in expanded form. So what you're going to do is you're going to count tenths. So this is 1/10, right? So you don't need to mark your paper every time you do this, but it might be good for your eyes to see that this purple column right here, that equals 1/10. This is 2/10. This is 3/10. This is 4/10. And then this is 3/100, right? So what I want you to do is I want you to write down 4/10 down below here. 4/10 plus 3/100. And this is writing this in expanded form so that you can see both the hundredths and the tenths at the same time. Do you see how that works? Okay, we're also going to do the same thing on this sheet of paper, but this sheet of paper has only tenths on it, right? So again, I'm going to pick a number, a decimal fraction, and this one happens to be 28 cents, or 28, 0 and 28 hundredths. So I'm going to write 0 and 28 hundredths. And again, that 0 says, hey, there's no one whole here. There's only parts of a whole. That's what your placeholder 0 is showing you. And then here you can really, oh wait, I wrote that wrong. I'm sorry. That's 38 hundredths. Pardon me. My eyes were playing tricks on me. Okay, so this, can you clearly see the tenths without the little boxes in them? This is 1 out of 10, 2 out of 10, 3 out of 10. So for my expanded form, I'm going to write 3/10 plus 8/100. And then the tricky part here, and I made little marks for myself before I videotaped, but the tricky part here is where you do have the 8/100ths, I want you to go ahead and make marks right there to show that this is 3/10 and 8/100. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, 700, 800. So if we were to turn all of these into a 10 by 10 grid that had 100 squares, then this would be 38 hundredths. But here we have 3/10 plus 8/100. Okay? So what you're going to do for each one of these is you're going to create a decimal that you want to build on your own, and then you're going to write it in expanded form down here. So for example, the next one you might want to do is, let's say it's 96 hundredths. You would show what 96 hundredths looks like on this. And if you think, I don't know how to do that, remember, you can look at your place value and you can say, okay, there's 9 tenths. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 right there. And remember, this is hundredths, not 100, but hundredths. And you can say, okay, there's going to be 6 hundredths, and you could count those up and get to 6, which would be just above the halfway point, right? Because 5's our halfway point, so 6 would probably be here, and then you can mark your hundredths for your 600ths. On this one, back to this one, you're going to do the same thing, but you're going to just be thinking in reverse. So let's say this time you wanted to do 75 hundredths. You could shade in, again, 7/10, so 1/10, 2/10, 3/10, and then 5 hundredths, and that would be the smaller boxes. I would love to see your work that you've done on Padlet, just because I love to see your work, and when we're at school together, your teachers get to see your good thinking, and when we're not at school together, we only see it on Padlet. So it'd be fabulous if you could load some examples of your work. Don't forget to write it in expanded form. Okay, have fun. Bye-bye.